Recording.
Okay, great. Good evening. I would like to call to order the Park and Recreation Commission meeting of November 9th, 2020. This open meeting of the Needham Park and Rec Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, to suspend public gatherings and as such suspend the open meeting requirement to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. For this meeting, we are convening by Zoom as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and some attendees are participating by video conference. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. So with that being said, I would call this to order and let's start. Do we have any guest participants, Stacy? No? Okay.
No, we do not.
Then why don't we go right into the agenda and start with the director's report. And our package was 177 pages long. And I hope everyone studied it thoroughly.
Twice.
Okay, twice. Okay. Okay.
I was so engrossed by it, I didn't realize how long it was. It read so quickly. Okay, fall programming. All programs have ended except for archery, which have gotten bumped twice because of the weather and we had to relocate it, but all is well and that should wrap up in a couple of weeks. And we are in the beginning stages of our super safe turkey hunt, and where we're going to be having basically a treasure hunt type, scavenger hunt type thingy with the businesses in town. More to come on that. And it will be more of like a week-long event where you can do it at your own, during your own timeline. It won't be all in one day. So people will have about 10 days to complete the hunt. I don't know if I can say that word anymore, but you know what I mean. The pools have been in the lower level of the RC have been winterized. Everything is blown out, cleared out, whatever we need to do down there. The guys have done it last week, and now the next steps to really true up the closure down there is for all the outdoor furniture to be put inside and stowed away. The reason we held off on that is so that the plumbers would have access to the pipes before we start putting furniture into the bathrooms and other storage areas. So Devin will be around. I haven't talked to Devin this week. He did show some hours last week, so he is around, but now he knows that everything is cleaned up and he can put the finishing touches on down there.
Were you pleased with the way it went, Stacy, with the closing? You and Kristen, were you pleased with it? Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. Permitting, the fall season has been extended due to our joyous storm on Halloween or the day before Halloween. Park bathrooms have all been winterized and locked, and we have put some porta potties at Cricket and DeFazio, none at Mills, as we don't have any permits down there. And those will be there. The ones at DeFazio will be there until the 20 or 21st. We're still waiting to hear back. Cricket should be a week earlier than that. Playgrounds are all open. Sunita was closed last week for about 24 hours, but that was only because of a safety concern of the roof at Sunita because of the storm. They asked us to close it just as a precaution, and then once the roof was fixed, we reopened it. Any updates from you? The playground inspections of New England started today. Nancy, who is the head consultant over there, went to DeFazio and Perry and was going to hit one more today. We'll be working her way through the list this week and next week. I'll skip unless Chris has some Chris, do you have any CPC updates? No, he doesn't have any. He's on mute, but I can read his lips. He's got nothing. Okay. Assistant director position. So as I went to update the job posting and put more pool managerial things on there, HR got back to me and said that I couldn't put a requirement for pool management experience. I can only put a preference for that in the job posting. because it's not in the job description. And my answer was, huh? So I looked at the job description. There is zero mention of an aquatics, overseeing aquatic facility or a pool or even a drop of water at all in that description. And considering this person is basically 95% of their job from January to October is the pool, I have asked if I can update the job description. The answer is yes, it does. Once I update it, it goes to HR, they rescore it, and then from there it is determined if it has to go to the personnel board and be reclassified. I don't foresee any reason why it would need to be reclassified at all. But I do think it's extremely important that the people applying for this job know that they're going to spend much of their time in the water, around the water, or in that downstairs at that pool. And I think that will change the pool of candidates significantly if I just post an assistant director position or an assistant director with a focus on aquatics. And we really need that focus on the aquatics. So I am buttoning that up today. Well, no longer today, but tomorrow, and we'll get it over to HR. And then as soon as that is updated, we will be able to, and if the personnel board doesn't need to vote on it, they meet next week. So we'll be able to get it on their agenda.
Okay.
And as soon as that happens, then we can post it. Hence the deadline for the update in the job description is today or tomorrow.
Okay.
So it is going to delay it slightly, but I think it's important to hold off a week so that we get the right candidates applying for this position.
I can't believe it's not in there, quite honestly. I was involved with hiring, not Angela, but the person before that. And we strongly stressed, that's not redundant, aquatics background. And in fact, we hired Robin because of that. She had aquatics background in Florida and in Atlanta. And then I wasn't involved in it when we hired Angela. So I think that was Dave DeChico probably. Chris, if you were involved then or if that, but I can't believe it was.
I think when we updated job descriptions, the only one that we really updated was when we were looking for Stacy, because Patty held that position for such a long time. We had to go back and rewrite it because the original job description that Patty had was from 34 years ago when she got hired. So I know we updated it for the director position, but you're right. I don't think we did it for the assistant director position. But during the interview process, we did talk about a heavy use of the pool because that's what we were looking for as part of that candidate.
Yeah, I also tend to remember that we had to change the job description between Robin and Angela because we couldn't make it the same based on how Robin was dismissed.
Yes,
And-
that's true too.
Right, so it may have gotten cut out of that. And then Stacy, to your point, it was more of a recommendation than it was, or not a recommendation, but it's preferred skill set or something like that, however it was. But I think that I did get updated for Robin, and then I think it got altered because of the situation with how that how that departure separation went between the two, and then moving Angela into that role, because Angela would not have had that background.
Right. Okay.
Which
Well,
I think, yeah.
good to update it, Stacy. So thank you for that. Okay.
And then lastly, programs versus camps. The link on the director's report, which is also attached, is the code, Massachusetts code for camps. Now, some of the code is for camps that we will never, ever run, despite what Kristen wants. We will not be doing a survival type camp or whittling or weapons making or any of those things. So those parts don't apply to us.
I just like to limit ourselves. That's all. I just like to keep the door open.
My guess is Tatiana would veto that in a heartbeat. But it's the focus you want to think about is the day camp programs, the day camp requirements. Matt?
So what are we supposed to do with this? My understanding is that we're supposed to get a proposal from you on the business impact of us doing this in terms of staffing, what's the revenue impact? I mean, you know, I skimmed through a number of these things. I didn't study it, but
Mhm.
are we going to get a summary report
Yes.
on?
So this is just the first step. So these are the codes that we would follow. And basically the reason this is the first step, and then the summary will come about how it impacts the department. And the big things that I wanted you to see is we do a lot of the things already running the programs. There's a lot of the stuff in there that we already do as a department. At least that's my understanding. We haven't run a real summer yet, so I don't, under my directorship, is that a word? Maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you. So what I'm trying to look at next, Matt and the rest of the commission, is what financially the impacts will be, and then what personnel impacts there will be. And then lastly, will be the impact to the administration part of the department, which that's the part that I think will least impact. I mean, I think there's a learning curve a little bit in the beginning, but I think that's for any new program. But really, this is just the very large code for Massachusetts that changes. I did not yet get into the summary of how it will impact, because frankly, I don't think there's a chance for us to do it this summer. Watching the numbers of COVID, I don't think there's a reason to change anything for summer 2021, because my gut tells me it's going to look very similar, maybe slightly looser, as summer 2020. And along with all the other stuff, I just didn't, it did get pushed to the side burner as opposed to getting it ready for this meeting. But at the next meeting, it'll have a more detailed, like what we're doing, what we would need, what the financial impact will be.
Okay, so you would expect to have that for our second November meeting?
Mhm.
So, and Stacy, can you give us just a brief summary, because you seem to be pretty knowledgeable about this?
Yep.
Why would we run a camp versus a program, and why do you think what we have been running should have been camps? Because that's not clear to me, that one versus the other. And is there a preference, or you just feel that what we do is really a camp and therefore we should call it a camp and comply with the rules?
So when the regulations changed significantly about, I want to say over 10 years ago, the big difference was if it's more than 2 hours and more than 2 days in a row, it's a camp. Like that was, so like if you're running a Wednesday afternoon art class once a week, every week, all summer, not a camp. But if you're running a 2-hour program Monday through Friday, that's a camp. And so that's where, so the multiple hours, multiple days is where it started. That was the cutoff. So anybody running anything for 6 weeks, 5 days a week is a camp, whether you run it for 2 hours a day, 6-hour days, 6 hours a day, or 8 hours a day. Why? I mean, and the trickle down effect when it happened 10 to 12 years ago is some departments held strong to programs. And then eventually it was just that everybody, the Board of Health were just like, you're a camp, you're a camp. And then eventually everybody was switched over to a camp that run any sort of summer day camp-like program. If it was 5 days a week, it was a camp.
And what's the biggest difference between a program and a camp?
You are mandated by certain guidelines. So administratively is the biggest impact, I think, because there's things like you need physicals, they're required, immunizations are required. You have to sign off on things like applying sunscreen, applying bug spray. Does the kid take any medications while they're at camp? do you have to consent to whether or not the staff can give them Tylenol, Advil, hydrocortisone cream, those kinds of things, because you are not supposed to touch, like physically touch a kid at all. So things like applying sunscreen need a waiver. Those are the big ones administratively. There's like a packet of 10 or 12 forms that a guardian would have to sign. And we would, if we chose to move to that, we would move to an online system called Camp Docs, which once you do it once, you just update your physical and any new allergies every year. So it's much easier for the parent. And I'm sure that if anybody has a kid in any other camp, overnight camps or whatever, a lot of people are moving to this Camp Doc system. Personnel wise, the ratios basically. So I don't know what we ran, but for camp kids 7 and under, the ratio is 1 staff member to 5 kids. And over that is 1 to 8 kids. Once they hit, I think it's 12, it's 1 to 10 kids. And then staffing wise, if they are 16 or 17 years old, they're not considered a full staff person when you're counting ratios. So they don't, like, if you have 10 5-year-olds, you can't have a 20-year-old and a 16-year-old, because that person is not considered they're considered a junior counselor, not a full counselor.
Okay, so we have always been running programs, and our Board of Health, I don't think, ever put up a protest. And as I think I said last time, it was not the intent of the commission to skirt the rules or avoid the rules or flout the rules. But we thought we were in compliance with the rules, and it sounds like it's your take that we probably were not.
So I talked to the Board of Health in the beginning, and obviously then COVID hit, so we didn't get very far on it. But my question to them, what is your take on our programs? And they felt very strongly that we should move towards having a certified camp. That was just the hallway conversation that I had with them. And I had many conversations in the interview process about moving towards this. The other personnel thing that it does bring on board is it brings a certified nurse into your program, which opens the door to a lot more residents that may need that for their kid to attend our programs. Because say a child has diabetes and needs to get an insulin shot at lunch or before lunch, we cannot administer that. So a parent would have to come, or a hired nurse would have to come administer that so the child could stay. Or we would say, we can't allow you into our program.
Okay.
But under camp guidelines, we would have to have a registered nurse, not necessarily on every site, but on staff. So that would be the biggest financial impact, unless the town health department worked with us.
Okay. I may have some more questions, but I think, Matt, you had your hands up, and other commissioners, feel free to.
Yeah, that one was and Stacy, you sort of addressed it. I was going to ask, is that by site or is that for the entire summer? Because, if we have to be at a physical single site, then we're limited in a different way. But if you're saying that we can have, and I guess that is the other implication, though. What is the implication that we have one nurse for multiple sites, right? So like, to your point, it doesn't seem like much of a benefit if Johnny is at High Rock and Josie is at Mitchell in our camps, and we have one nurse to try and get to both of them to give them that insulin shot, right? So it doesn't seem like a selling point to me, but okay. That was my big question, Cindy.
Bruce or Chris, any questions or comments at this point?
Just quick question for that. For the programs that we were doing, were we restricted on the times that we could run these programs? Like if you just say you can only do programs from say 9 to 3, but if you're camp, you could start as early as 7 a.m. Is that part of it?
Yes.
Or like, is that a reason why we were doing programs, because we didn't want to start at 7 o'clock?
So when the original guidelines came down, there was a waiver for a couple years that if you stayed under 6 hours, you didn't have to become a camp. Like it bought the town some time to get sort of their ducks in a row. It seems like that's where Needham just stayed with the 6-hour program, 9 to 3. But as a camp, you can run as early as 7 a.m. You can do early morning drop-offs. You can do late pickups, when in previous communities, we basically started at 7 and ended at 6. So if you had 2 working parents and you needed two working guardians and you needed childcare for like a good amount of the day, then you could drop your kid off and pick them up and not have to worry too much about missing work.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
And that was and is, I think, a big selling point. I mean, out of 150 kids, maybe you have 20 at early morning drop off, but you probably have close to 40, if not more, in the afternoon drop off, because picking a kid up at 3, my experience is torture.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
So that is one of I think the biggest pro, both for the department and for people in town.
Okay.
Great. Okay, Matt, did you have some?
Yeah, I just have an added request, and Stacy, if this means that we got to push this out, I defer to the rest of the commission. But it seems to me that the economic impact or benefit isn't just on our staffing. So if we take those situations that you just pointed out, we're available more hours, more days of the week, our competition changes a little bit. So where we would fit in the day camp realm may change. Our fees may change, our things may change. So I really would love us to look at that more broadly in terms of, it's not that we need 3 more people, or we can't have all those volunteers, because I know a lot of our programs are staffed by volunteers, which maybe they can't work because they're not junior counselors anymore, right? So that means we have to have all these extra costs. Well, we should be also looking at, well, now we're going to be competing with a Nobles Day Camp or other day camps in the area. So we may be able to raise price, or we may need to rethink what we do. I don't think it's just a administrative burden. We have to look at more factors.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I found previously is we stopped being the backup camp and the filler camp. Like, okay, I got my kid into hockey camp this week and outdoor camp this week and overnight these 2 weeks, and I have this gap week. What am I going to do with them? Oh, I'll put them in rec camp. Even though it's only 6 hours, it's sort of like, so we stop being that camp.
Right.
And we start being like, oh, we want to go to rec camp these 4 weeks. We stop being filler. And it has driven up the numbers in the past, and I don't see why it wouldn't do that here. And I think we could reach a broader and more diverse and equitable grouping of kids and residents that really need our services.
So one follow-on to that, Stacy, is, and I think this is probably more of a logistical nightmare than is, as you well know from experience, if we're not that filler camp, we would need to have our camps and our weeks and everything set right about now.
Yep.
For next year. And right now, even last year, you experienced, we couldn't get the facilities, whether it was what school buildings we were going to have and everything like that. So I don't want to solve it here, but I would like to see what that plan would be. So it sounds like we're going to need help from Board of Health, from a nursing and care perspective. We're going to need more crosstown support in saying rec camps are going to be at Pollard, at this at this on these set days, and that's the way it's going to be.
Mhm.
You know, Rosemary Recreation Complex, obviously, because if we're not ready to go by December 1st or December 15th, we will always be the filler camp.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's a no-brainer. And I think one of the things why I, when I was starting to look at this and knowing not just the COVID numbers, but we can't access the schools until the end of the school year. That is a done deal, and there's no wiggle room there. So we won't be able to run a program until the schools are out, like at the earliest. So we won't have access. And I don't know, it really is going to depend on the COVID numbers, what that looks like. So like I said at the beginning of this conversation, I don't think it's a push for this summer as much as I really wanted it to be, because there's just not enough known about COVID.
Yeah, no, I get that, Stacy. I guess my point is, and I think what you're saying, I actually agree that we should take the year to figure out how to do this and be ready for this time next year, if that's the choice we want to make. My point is, and Kristen, keep me honest here, but even in a regular year, we don't know what school buildings or school locations we're going to be allowed to have at this point in time of the year, which has always been one of our challenges on advertising camps. We've never been able to advertise our camps until the end of February about knowing what we're going to have, and we've never been able to do it. And a lot of that is because where we'll be able to utilize, other than Rosemary, is not a done deal. At least that's how it was always explained to me. So so that is that window of time. When we come out with our camp stuff in February, we will always be the filler camp, because that's too late for all those people who are doing the sports camps, the full-on day camps. So, and there may be more logistics in that, Stacy, but I'm just saying that is a logistical element that I would love to see in the plan. I don't want to solve it now, but that needs to be solved for in this plan, because we've never been able to market anything we're doing in the summer with any sort of concreteness until after February. Now, we've done a great work, Kristen, you've done a great work to pull that in, because it used to be April when I first joined the commission. But realistically, we do the camp thing and we say, yeah, we're going to have these things, but we'll tell you where and when it'll be later. But that's a logistical issue that we have to sort out.
Yeah, I've been working with some of the principals in general, not just last summer, but about playgrounds and things like that. So I'm hoping that we can get answers sooner outside of the COVID
Yeah,
madness.
exactly.
But
that's what I'm
once
getting.
that dies down, then I'm working to work with the principals as much as possible. Sorry,
Okay.
my kids are trying to call me, so. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Chris. I see Michelle said she's going to join us late, so we should expect to see her. All right, well, thank you. I would recommend we continue this conversation at the next meeting, but that's helpful, and I look forward to that. I did not go through all of those regulations. I looked at that and said, oh, now I know why we run programs. It's be easier.
If it makes you feel better, the pool ones are twice as long.
Yeah, well,
So the camp ones are like, to me, the camp ones are like, this makes sense. Okay, good. The pool ones are all over the map because every pool is so wildly different.
Okay, well, I'm in favor of looking at this more closely, because I do think the demographics have changed, and I think there's lots of two parent, two guardian, whatever, working people in the house. And I know in my case, my kids didn't go to park and rec programs because they didn't suit my need, because I needed full day every day, and their hours weren't enough. But okay, so we will push this forward to next time. Hi, Michelle. Welcome, Michelle. Okay. Unless somebody has more to say, Michelle, you just missed the camp versus program discussion, but we're pushing it forward to next meeting. So I'm sure you'll have plenty of opportunity to weigh in.
There's also some light reading in the commission packet. It's very short. Not
I do have a question.
Oh, sure, go ahead, Bruce.
So just because of my inexperience, are we, I mean, obviously the camps cost more money to run because it's longer hours, more people are involved. The programs seem to be a much less costly program to run. But are we concerned about bringing in revenue, or are we just concerned about doing the best job for the town? It says, you know, I mean, we may be able to charge a lot more for the camps, but is it actually going to bring in more money if we are concerned about that?
So we are always concerned about doing the best job, obviously. But we are mindful of trying to bring in money. The programs we can make money. We want to make money. We'd like to bring in revenue to the town. Many of our programs are run in a revolving fund, so you're not supposed to really make money. You can cover your costs plus a little bit. But if we can make money for the town, we are happy to do it. But we always, at least my philosophy is, we need to be cost effective for the residents. I mean, we should not be the most expensive camp around. And Matt brings up Noble's Day Camp, which I think is a very highly regarded day camp. But I would guess that pricing is going to be much different than a Town of Needham camp. So
Say it's at least cover the costs anyway.
oh, absolutely, yes.
But so turning the programs into camps, the parents will be, they'll be paying a lot more money, getting a much better service. But is there actually more of a margin in the camps versus the programs? We probably don't have those numbers right now, but I mean, if you're running 6 hours versus about 8 to 9 hours, if the cost is $100 a kid and you're only making $10, and the other way you're just breaking even. I mean, there's got to be a way that's beneficial, but it sounds like it's more based on the fact that the parents and the kids are better off with the camps versus the programs. So it's less money oriented and then more program oriented not program, but to deliver the product that the people in town need.
Yeah, Bruce, that's what I'm asking Stacy and the team to present to us, right? Is what are those trade-offs? I mean, when we reopened the pool with the new pool, we went through a whole analysis of pricing and against our costs and things of that nature. So that's one of the discussion points that I'm expecting us to see in the proposal is what would the proposed revenue be against our costs, and what does that do to our demographic of our typical town user? Because we also, to your point, we can't just move from being the spot camp to being priced out of the way. So those people that have relied on these programs for years don't have an alternative, right? And that was one of our big questions when we looked at the pool. We were worried about raising the prices of the pool too high to that some families would not come. And fortunately, we did a good job there, and I don't think we've seen that issue. But that is one of the analysis that I think we would need to get from the director and the team in looking at this as a commission.
Right. And this was really spurred on by our new director, who told us that the programs we've been running really were camps under the state guidelines, and therefore we should comply with those guidelines. So that's really how we have come to this point. And obviously we want to do it as the right thing. So, but economics will be a big part of our discussion. If there's nothing else, we'll move on to the next item. Okay. I guess that brings us to the end of the director's report. Anyone have any other questions or comments for the director? No. Okay. Great. Thank you, Stacy. Into the discussion items, Rail Trail Advisory Committee. The updates?
Just the flyer that is in your packet. Youth Family Services is registering to have kids come out and start participating in this project. So I believe that it has gone up. People can register, so that's under Sarah Shine, who is the Director of Youth and Family Services. So she's the one organizing this. But we've had a lot of good feedback about the project in general, so that's great. And that's it on the Rail Trail Advisory Committee. We will meet again, not until 3 months. I think it was like February that we planned at, like after the holiday madness, we will reconvene.
Okay. All right, terrific. Open space recreation plan?
I thought I was gonna have updates for you, but I do not. So
Okay.
definitely by next meeting.
All right. Needham baseball and softball.
Yeah, so the town is trying to coordinate a meeting of the minds between basically Kate, Dave, Katie, Tatiana, who's procurement, and our department, and Eddie, to figure out exactly what to do, or how to proceed forward. Everybody's in agreement that this is a great project. Everybody's in agreement that we want to work with them. It's just a matter of updating the process. That like the past process is not the same as the process moving forward. So we need to receive the check and then have everything run through the town as a service contract, as opposed to having a user group hire a vendor to do work on municipal land.
Is that new? Is that very new? Because I've been a part of things that were gifted to the town, and that was fairly.
You
usual.
can gift a product to the town. You cannot gift a service. This is considered a service. And so this is the process that we will be following.
Wow. Okay. So that's going to delay this probably till. I'm going to guess, right?
We should still be able to get it done this fall.
Okay.
We just have to get on the next meeting of the select board to accept the gift.
Okay. So who is kind of spearheading this, Stacy? Is that you or is that someone else?
The meeting,
Yeah.
Katie King
Well,
sent out. You broke up there, sorry.
Just getting the whole project moving forward.
So I'm leaning on Katie King, and Katie King she sent out a doodle poll this morning to get, because last week it was like, I can do this time. It wasn't shaking out right. So she sent out a doodle poll this morning. So we should have an answer, if I don't already, in my email about when the next meeting is.
Okay.
But it was either tomorrow or Thursday is when the meeting was, when the options were.
Great. Matt, question?
So does this change all of the interactions we have with the other groups? Because I know that the other sports groups also pay for things. They maintain fields. They have third-party contractors doing stuff. Is that going to change how all of this works? So we're going to have to, so we have a new topic for the field summit in January, essentially?
Yes. So it looks like we're going to have to update some of our own requirements and policies for field users. Figure out how we're going to go about that yet. Because like Matt said, something simple as having the lines painted. As we all know, we paint them, Eddie's team paints them the first time, and then each user group is required to get them done. That should be a different process, and we are going to figure out what that process is, and then we will update, yes, at the next field summit, and certainly in our packets.
So would it make more, so I guess my question, Stacy, would be, and I'm just thinking of the user groups, but would it, so we want to get this project moving, but before we universally change everything, would it make more sense to look more broadly at the monies that go back and forth between the user groups and us and how this gets accommodated overall, right? Because they pay their per user fee, and then, so basically they'd be paying more money to us through some sort of user fee. So, and I just would like to, I think we owe it to them to not tell them what it is, but to have some input, because I think some of the user groups may have some ideas on how we can make life easier for all of us in the passing back and forth of dollars. So if they always have to be working with a subcontractor to the town for this work, then maybe there's just a different way that it works. Maybe you have user-based fees, and then you have other field maintenance fees, and then the calculation of how that field maintenance fee is calculated. So it's more streamlined than, you know, soccer club says, I want to donate $50,000 for field maintenance at the end of the year. Right? I get a sense that we have an opportunity here to relook at it versus us saying this is now the policy, because they've been spending their own money in different ways in so many different buckets. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it, but I just think it would be good to get a couple of the user groups' input on this process as it relates to everything that they pay us.
Yeah, so I agree with you, Matt. Before I meet and get a true understanding, my gut says we are going to own everything and incorporate it into the fee. Because my very short understanding of this is that all of the service contracts should be going through the town. Nobody should be stepping foot on a field to rake or shovel or mend or paint anything. It should, unless they're contracted with the town, because they're doing it on municipal land. So all of the ticky-tacky things that each user group is doing is now, my gut says, will probably fall under our umbrella. We will ideally contract it out and then disperse that fee among the user groups. So yes, I think we need to figure out what that's going to look like. What will the fees look like? How do we let the users know? But as opposed to add-ons, unless you want to treat it like the field lights, where like if you require lining, then you pay this extra fee. If you require X, then you pay this extra fee. I think that becomes pretty cumbersome for admin. And
yeah, I don't know
And
what
I
the
don't know.
solution is, Stacy. So what I could see without knowing a lot, right, just based on this description, is the user groups could say, well, I pay for that because I get it done when I need it done. If you charge me an extra fee, you are likely going to hire, are we going to hire more bodies for park and forestry? And then do I have broader control over those bodies? Or are we basically going to pay a fee that is going to go towards a subcontractor that I have some say over in what they do? Because I think the user groups, the reasons why the user groups do these things outside is because Eddie's team doesn't have the staff to keep up in our peak times, right? And as Eddie said, his primary goal is the schools, and that makes sense, right? So that when baseball wants to host a Williamsport tournament and they need somebody to go do all the fields in the end of June, and Eddie's team may or may not have the resources to do it, they can get their people there to do that at that time. Or if the soccer tournament is coming and they need to reline all the soccer fields, they have that control. So I think that's one of the why I'm asking we should involve the user groups in this. It's not just the payment and the dollars. I think there is an essence of the control over when things get done that meet their specific needs, not when the town can get to it. And that's the balance of the trade-off that I think we need to have a discussion on, not just be, this is how it's going to be.
Right. I mean, the reason that some of the user groups do it this way is because the town couldn't meet their needs.
Right.
So we said we will line the fields once, but we can't be lining these fields every week or every other week. If you need them lined more than once, you take care of it. So that's how we've gotten to where we are with some of this stuff. And if that is now a change, then we would need to be able to deliver the services that they need. We haven't been able to do that in the past to the extent that they either needed it, thought they needed it, and they could afford to do it. So so it's a change in the way we do things. It sounds like it's going to make it more complicated and convoluted, but maybe that's not the case. So would definitely be a good topic for the field summit. As long as we understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have to get a better understanding. Like I said, my preliminary understanding with procurement is that we will need to go in this direction if we're going to have outside vendors on our fields doing any work
Well,
on them at all.
We will always have outside vendors on our fields because we don't have enough staff to do everything we need to do, right? So I think that's just a given. But I hesitate to make it any more convoluted or complicated than we have to. I think procurement in the municipal setting is already, it is, that's the way it is. I can't help that. But I think we could try to make it as simplistic and streamlined as possible for the user groups and not make it worse. So I'll leave it at that. Okay.
Do we then have the issue with the prevailing wage issue? So it's going to be far more expensive for them to contract it this way. I mean, it's going to deter any group from wanting to put money towards our fields. So are there other ways that we can work around this issue? Because it's going to have a significant negative impact on all of our fields going forward.
I don't disagree with you, but I do know that if you follow the municipal procurement, letter of the law, service contracts, all of those things, the answer is yes, we will have to go prevailing wage. And I don't know if we can go around it, but I'm hoping that this meeting with Dave and Kate and Katie and Tatiana, who's our procurement officer, will help me understand, and then I can help them understand what that means in real life for our department. Because I think when it comes to any other department, it's very cut and dry. And when it comes to our department, like a lot of things with accounting, it is not as cut and dry. It is not as simplistic because we can't afford in our budget to do all the things that the user groups need. We don't have the staffing for it. And if we did everything that every user group wanted to do, it could jump those prices significantly, and that's not going to go over well either. So I think this meeting this week is very important, not just for baseball, softball, but thanks for bringing that up. But I think it's going to make a bigger impact is what our process is moving forward for all of our user groups in our fields and our playgrounds. And our courts and whatever else it is. Because I think they're very cut and dry. Like, they're accountants. They're very cut and dry. And field usage isn't quite that simple. So I think they need to get a better understanding from us as well as I get a better understanding from them.
Okay, well, hold the line for us, Stacy. Hold the line. Okay. All right, to be continued. All right, I'm going to move forward unless someone has something else on this. Walker Pond.
There's an email in here somewhere. I'm looking to tell you what page it's on.
Yeah, and actually,
there it is. 20, page 20.
Page 20, yep.
An update from Katie King. Does anybody have any questions?
So the timing, Stacy, looks like not for CPC this year, or CPC this year. Yeah, let's see.
FY23.
So that would be a year
I think it's
from
22 and 23.
No,
is what I'm
category
reading.
1 is, so there'd be one in each year. Kristen, am I reading that right? I mean, it looks to me like category 1, they're gonna go for 125,000 in FY22.
Yes.
And
for
then
20
FY23 is the 356,000 of improvements to the water body. Category 1 is the pilot project. That's all on page 21.
So funding for that though, is that,
Did she say what's going on there?
I don't know that it's been determined if that's eligible for CPC or not.
Maybe CPC rep knows.
It
Madam Chair.
is.
Wait, not,
Commissioner.
let's go to
No,
Kristen.
let's a Kristen.
Let's go to
That it
Kristen.
was towards Kristen. Commissioner.
If you scroll up to page 15, you'll see that Walker Pond, both category 1 and category 2 improvements are included in the capital projects that were submitted for the town. And this was a Park and Rec interest engineering submittal.
Okay, Walker Pond, okay, 125. I see that FY22, so that means it has to go in. So
Next
that's
December.
December.
This- here.
But this
right?
is, but this look.
No, next December.
Kristen- But Kristen, you said it's
No,
capital.
this December.
Right now.
FY22.
We're in
Yes.
Right, we're in 20 right now.
No,
One.
we're in 21.
Oh, Jesus.
fiscal 21.
So
Oh, okay.
if Tony was going, if engineering was going to go for CPC funding, he would have submitted an application for this project in December, by December 4th of this year. He has not yet put in an application, but that doesn't mean that he won't. CPC doesn't meet again until the 18th.
So he's got 18th of November or December?
We meet again on
November.
the 18th of November. The proposals and applications aren't due until December the 4th.
So he's got 3 weeks, a little less than a month to do that. Okay.
If
Okay.
he was going to go, if the town was going to fund it completely out of their capital and it would go to town meeting as a capital improvement,
Yep.
then, yeah, in May, then it would be not CP, it wouldn't have to have the restrictions of CPC's application process.
Okay. And then he's got the 356, which is what is the 356? I need to go back to that. He's got that the following year. And that is the chemicals, the hydro raking, permitting, replacement of overflow grate. Okay. Okay. Okay, so it seems like Katie King is kind of spearheading this, with Tony Delgazzo being the engineering head. Is that correct? Okay. Okay. Questions, comments from the commissioners? Okay, Stacy, do you know if we've had any comments back from the rest of the working group of the residents?
None that have come to like a reply all. I don't know if Katie's received them individually, but I haven't seen anything.
Okay.
I
Okay.
would just say kudos to the director for getting the DPW to pick this up versus it
For
being
what?
in our lap. That's huge.
Yeah, Matt, you faded there. You
Yeah.
need to say the kudos louder.
The louder kudos, I was saying,
Yeah.
giving kudos to the director for getting this off our plate and into the DTWs and getting them to actually take action on this.
I do what
Yes.
I can.
Fabulous. I mean, it's our property, but we don't really have that expertise to run it. So thank you, Stacy. And Christian. Okay. Programs. Summer programs versus camps. I think we have kicked that around enough tonight. Field hockey fee. This was the girls' field hockey program. I don't think there's anything in the packet about this, right, Stacy?
There's nothing in the packet. This is just, I know that all of you had a conversation either with myself or Cindy, but it does have to be voted on. I
Yeah,
believe
so,
You're going
right,
to.
so as you may recall, this is the first year of this girls' field hockey program. It was, sounded like it was very successful, very well received, and lots of good comments have been made about it, from what I've seen on the Needham Facebook page. And Dina Hannigan, is that who runs it, seems to have done a great job pulling this together. I know, along with help from our staff. Somewhere in there, it was neglected somehow that they would owe a fee per child. And I guess that was a surprise to the people running the program that there was a fee due to the town. And they only found this out very recently. So my suggestion is, it was a great program. It was the first year. I think there was some issues with continuity, pulling it together, at least on our side, because we had change of staff and people leaving. So my suggestion was that we would perhaps waive the fee for them this year, since they're a new program, and that would be our introducing them to the town of Needham way of doing things. So I would look to the commissioners to either agree or disagree with that. But my suggestion would be that we consider waiving the fee for this year. I see a thumbs up from Bruce. Any kind of Matt and Chris and Michelle, I think I have to call on them to actually have a vote and probably have to have a motion. And a second.
I will make the motion if you would like.
Yes, please.
I would like to make a motion that the Park and Rec Department will waive the athletic fees for the 2020 season for Needham field hockey. Just for this year, but will collect going forward.
Second.
Okay, hearing any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll come to the vote. Commissioner Gerstle,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Tulin,
Aye.
Commissioner Geddes,
Aye.
and the chair is also an aye, so it passes unanimously. Thank you, John. And I think Stacy and Kristen, at some point, it would be nice to know if our other groups are paying their fees and if there are any programs that have fees that are outstanding. Don't need to have that tonight, but if you could just let us know that at some point, if it is an issue or if everyone is up to date, that would be great. But maybe for the next meeting, we could have that information. Thank you.
Sure,
Okay.
at our team meeting today, we discussed reaching out because now that the seasons are wrapping up, making sure that we have all the information such as rosters and then updating the invoices and sending them out. So we will definitely have a better update to give you next week, in 2 weeks.
Great. Okay. All right. Next item is park bathrooms. I think did you cover pretty much what you wanted to cover there, Stacy?
I did. Wasn't there one before that I'm scrolling to find out about?
Oh, the field user group booklet. How can I forget
That's
that?
the one.
That was that like 100 of the 77 pages?
56, I believe, is the first
Yeah,
page of that.
6.
You caught me off guard. I was like, wait, what am I scrolling for? The bathrooms are closed.
Hang on, I'm going to 56. Page 56. So this came about because of field hockey, actually, right? And talking about that, how do we help sports groups? And I think, Matt, you've asked the question, and I can't remember if it was in a meeting or a conversation that you and I were just having, the two of us, about what do we do to help new sports groups get off the ground, basically. And Stacy said that we have a manual that
Booklet. I think it can become a manual.
but it's a booklet.
It's a lot of information, and I think along with the gift from baseball, softball, I think that and how that process moves forward for our user groups, I think there's a lot of updating to be done. Even just some very insignificant updates, but I think we need that. That is what we have now. We are going to obviously update it as far as fees go and regulations, and if any of the processes change or need to be updated, that will also be updated and reflected in this document. And right now you'll notice that there's like a different permit for like a special event. There's a different permit for lights. And if we need to add or subtract some of those permits, once we get a better understanding of how the user groups will be using / maintaining or not maintaining the fields, then we'll update that. But this is just so that you guys have it and understand what each group receives / should receive each season.
So this is, I mean, this incorporates policies that we've had for a while.
Mhm.
Okay.
Matt, did you have a question?
More just a comment, Stacy. I think it's great that that you all are gonna review this. Just remember that joint field use policy is ever so important, so that any changes that we make will have to get run around through the trustees of Memorial Park.
I have
So-
heard, yes, I absolutely agree. And I think Kristen has a really great relationship with, what's his actual name? John
Galella?
Gallo, because I can't. Kristen has a great relationship with John. So if there's any changes, she said that she would be happy to take care of that. So, but yeah, I agree. I think the trustees are strong-willed and have some strong feelings, and so we should certainly go to them about their fields and how we want our joint policy to work. I think also I would love to have more conversations with them. They are definitely more person-to-person type people, but I think we can certainly streamline the process and make it easier, certainly for them, but also for us to not really be able to regulate that field. Kind of tends to blow up on us on a regular basis. So I think if I can work on having a better partnership and collaboration with them, that will help us all. So that is my plan once I can.
So we
Okay.
spent a lot of time coming up with these policies and working with them. So they, at one point, were very, very involved with this. I will tell you, they are extremely protective of that park. And as a result of that, it is why it is such a nice park, quite honestly. And they hold firm on a lot of stuff. So it is good to work with them, and it's good to be on the same page as they are.
Yep.
They have been incredible allies for us. At times they are, they're an interesting group of people, but they are terrific in terms of protecting that park and making sure that park stays the way it is. And they will go toe to toe with anyone to keep control of that park. So we always need to be mindful. I think because we have so many fields and so many parks, we tend to lump that one in with ours. And it's always a good reminder to us that it is not under our jurisdiction, other than for some scheduling. So, but we spent a long time coming up with these policies. It was
I think one of the things I want to work with them on is I agree it's their field and it's not ours and it's not our jurisdiction, but that is not the public's viewpoint. So when things go haywire, first call is always to us, which is understandable. So if we can work more collaboratively with them, that will help ease that stress for both of us.
Yep. So it's a tightrope walk is what it is.
Yep.
Okay. Great. And I would suggest for Bruce, if you haven't had a chance to read through this, which I would be surprised if you have, but if you haven't, this is a great way for you to understand a lot of our policies. If you skim through this stuff, there's a lot of information here, and it will hopefully explain some things to you. And you may have a fresh eye and point some things out that are not practical or don't make sense. So please feel free to be critical.
Just so you know, I'm been lifelong friends with John Galello. I've known him all my whole life. So if there's anything I can do to communicate with him, we're very familiar with each other.
Awesome.
Sounds like he's the man when we shift the goals and responsibilities, Cindy.
There you go. What a great segue into commission goals.
I'm so glad you
Bad
brought-
timing, Bruce. Bad.
Yeah.
He used to chase me around when I was like in high school. So and I always got the better of him. So
Oh, okay. Well, you do know this.
we did a lot of. I have known him and his family for years, and if there's anything I can do to communicate with him, I'd be happy to.
Okay,
That
that's
sounded
great.
like he just raised his hand.
Yeah, that's terrific. Okay. Okay. Now on to park bathrooms. Are we done with that, Stacy?
They
Yeah,
are
I'm-
closed.
I'm sorry.
They
bathrooms
are
are
closed.
I'm still
Sometimes I
scrolling
do
through-
the agenda and then I decide to add it into the report because it's like simple, and then I don't delete it from the agenda.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm actually seeing where this booklet
Trying
manual,
to find the goal. Yeah,
does this end on?
doesn't end.
Oh my goodness. Oh, wait, yep, that's done.
Goals.
You're
Found it.
welcome. You're welcome.
162. Thank you, Kristen.
All the way to the end at 162. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's past the state requirement, new guidance that came up from the governor on Friday as well.
Whew, whew. Okay.
That guidance was super helpful. Hmm.
All right. Well, I am not seeing the goals here. What page? You say
162. 162.
I
Oh,
think it's
the- yeah, the-
161 and 162.
The roles and
Oh yeah, sorry. 161 is the first one.
Ah, thank you. Here we go. Okay. I don't know if anyone had a chance to think about our goals. We obviously need to switch around,
Mhm.
Chris will be vice chairman, I'll be chair. Take Dave DeChico's name off. Does anyone have any areas that they would like to be responsible for? I think liaison to Memorial Park. I'm gonna nominate Bruce.
Mhm.
second,
Third,
I would
Also,
probably. Oh, go ahead.
I don't know if you want to have a co-lead or somebody on the RRC, or if that is just part of the building project or ongoing maintenance. I'm not sure, but
that was the building of it.
yeah.
Yeah, that was the construction and the getting up and running. So I think that can go, actually.
Yes.
Right?
but I do
So-
think programs should be a part. So where Dave was working on program development, which I'd be happy to pick up. So working with staff on programs and things of that nature.
Okay. So why don't we go down this list, actually. Let's start at the top of this, just go down. So I'm guessing the chair should stay as liaison to the select board.
Mm-hmm.
I think co-lead recreation, Rosemary Recreation can go away.
Yeah.
The Community Preservation Committee would stay with Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And the next one.
And Rail Trail would stay with Chris. I think if you go down to where my name is on this page, I would keep the things I have: Finance Committee, Trails Advisory, Conservation, and Open Space, unless someone else wanted one of those. I'd be happy to.
I have a question.
Sure.
Open space planning differs from open space and recreation plan advisory committee
No, it's all the same thing. I mean, it's
Okay.
all,
because you're on one and Michelle's on the other.
I think we were just splitting that up. I don't know why it has a
I
different,
thought it was the same.
yeah,
I thought it was the same also. I thought we just split it up.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then, so Chris, you end up with Community Preservation Rail Trail.
Mhm.
We would put Bruce in, who would be liaison to Board of Health? Anyone?
I'll take it. I only got two so far. I'll take the Board of Health.
Okay, all right. Kristen, I'm assuming you're writing these down. Is that,
We're also
Thank-
recorded.
thank you. Okay. We had two people who were co-liaison to the youth sports. So
We had
that was
three.
Michelle with three.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, we did have three. Okay.
Seems like a lot of cooks in the kitchen there.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of sports groups.
Sure.
So,
And I'm happy to keep my one role of that, like I'll
okay,
be happy to participate.
Same
okay.
here. I'm happy to share it with you, Michelle.
Okay. We probably just
So
need-
much trouble.
we need backup.
Yeah.
So I would think that maybe the person who has that responsibility or the people who have that may want to, maybe should lead the, the meeting that we have with the sports groups, right? We have the field summit, actually.
That's fine.
Maybe that would make sense. I don't know. Okay. So Bruce, you've got Memorial Park trustee. So I got so far. Let's see. Playground projects. I think we gave that to Michelle last time because she had the youngest children. Was the only one still going to playgrounds?
I still have one going, but I'm happy to lead that one.
I mean, one of my plans is to bring in some playground options for the active adult. So we have plenty of those on the commission. So I'm sure anybody could jump in.
Yeah, it's true. All right, we'll leave that one. We'll see that one. Liaison to committee appointments, youth services and council on aging. So Bruce, I don't know if you know, but those two groups, the Park and Rec Commission gets to appoint someone to those bodies. And typically, in a typical year, we would have those liaisons come in once a year and talk to us and tell us what's going on with those boards and what's happening and how it affects maybe what they're doing might interact with Park and Rec. This year we haven't done that because, the best we're doing is meeting by Zoom. So I don't see us
Right.
doing it anytime soon, but it is interesting to have them in and interesting to for us to that they're there not only to serve that board but to represent Park and Recreation and anything that may come up that would affect us. So that's what that is. All right. So anybody want anything else or have any new goals? I mean, I was trying to think of some new goals and the only thing I had was for someone to be more responsible for the opening and closing of the pool process. And I see Kristen has her hand up because she wants to give us goals. Kristen.
No, Madam
you
Chair.
have asked
I just
Stop
wanted to
saying madam,
review.
it's commissioner.
Sure. I just wanted to say there's nobody, is Michelle going to stick with the school to being the liaison to the school committee?
I can. How many do I have now? Who's
I
keeping
have-
track of numbers? Because
You got the most now. You've signed up for them all.
I
Overachiever.
two.
I take it back.
Well, is that
So-
something we should split with all the schools? Like if we have, how many elementary
There's only
schools?
one school committee.
Right. It would just be
Right.
like Andrea. It'd be connecting.
Not-
with her.
The
Okay.
schools.
So, Michelle, to my count that I currently have, if you are staying on Open Space and Recreation Advisory with Cindy, then you would be appointed to 3, unless you also remained the liaison for the commission appointees.
Ah.
I'd be happy to relinquish the last one.
Okay.
All right. Bruce, is there anything that interests you here? I hope there is. Oh, you're muted, Bruce. I can't hear Bruce. Can anyone else hear?
Bruce, you're on
We're
mute if
working
you're.
on it. There
There he is.
Okay, so, yeah, I mean, I don't know what is needed and what I would have the experience to handle, but I can probably learn pretty fast. So whatever you think that would make sense, I'll be happy to try out.
Great. If you could find a vaccine, that would be most helpful to the department.
And $1 million
I-
here and there would also be useful.
Yeah,
I have a suspicion, Bruce, that you're more than qualified to handle any of these items based on, what we've done. I would suggest maybe another co-liaison to the youth sports organization, since you've done a lot of coaching and been involved with youth sports a lot.
yeah, as long as I know, I just have to find out who to contact to set up meetings and stuff. And that's all I would need.
Yep. Let's see. I don't think we need a liaison to the Permanent Public Building Committee anymore, right? That's done.
Yeah, that was, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think, there's no projects with us jointly involved either, right?
Right.
Not currently.
So how about if we do this, Kristen, how about if you don't mind writing these up and then sending it to us, and we'll look and see, does it look great? You know, if we've given everything to Michelle, then we'll rethink it. But,
Right.
Please, please.
or if Chris Gerstle only has CPC,
Right.
we'll think about that. Okay. right.
Only
I
has
don't-
Okay,
CPC.
so page 162
Yep.
are the goals.
The goals. Okay. Mm,
I think number 2 should be number 1.
Number 3 is done, right?
Number 3
Yeah,
is
we could
done.
take off number 3.
Number 3's gone.
Number 4 is in process.
Okay.
Great
Okay.
work, Chris.
Good going, Gerstle. I actually don't agree. I don't agree that number be number 1. I think our property is always got to be top of the line.
Oh, well then number 2 should be number 10 because it's always going to be on the list. But like people are gross.
Right. Programming.
It's kind of on a pause at the moment.
I'm sorry, what? We're on a
Kind of on a
pause, right?
pause. We're bringing in a lot of new programming, and it's like,
Well, should we hire a new assistant director? And I mean, I think that's part of our goals for the next year, right?
Yeah.
next
That's
year.
true.
I'm hoping. Yes.
Right.
I'm
I mean, it would be
hoping
nice to have
finalized before
goals
this
that we know it'd be nice to have a few goals that we know we can achieve. Right. I mean, the problem, I don't know how we're going to achieve that one. So number 5, that programming one, that came about because it seemed like we had different parts of town government offering the same programs. And there was a lot of overlap between us and what was going on with schools and what was going on with the Center at the Heights. And so there was a meeting and we tried to streamline that. I don't know how successful we were, but I think there was some success.
I think it will also accidentally be streamlined. We are looking to switch over to MyRec software, as you guys know. We are also pulling, so Youth and Family Services and the COA are also doing it because all 3 departments are going to be using the same software. We're all using one system. So
Okay.
as a user, if you want to sign up your kid for art, you want to sign up for an aerobics yoga class, and I don't know, Youth and Family Services, like you can all sign up in one place. You'll be able to just log on one time and click to those 3 different places. It'll be like Park and Rec signups here, Youth and Family Services, CAF. So I think it'll sort of automatically start to streamline those things. Because interdepartmentally we'll start having conversations like, wait, you're doing senior yoga, so wait, let's figure out how we.
Like, okay. So do we still need that as a goal? I don't know that it certainly hasn't been the problem in the last year because we've been so inundated with trying to figure out COVID stuff.
Mhm. I think we can always build on programming. I think doing the same thing over and over just makes your department pretty flat. So I think it should always be on the list.
Yeah, it probably doesn't need to be 5 lines of it. I think
It doesn't.
it should be an annual review of the programming.
If anybody has attended a program in a different community and you're like, oh my gosh, this was great. Rec people are always sharing those kinds of things. So that would be great. But I think it should stay on the list.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
Should we
Continue
put-
effort. Oh, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, should we put on the program versus camp discussion. I think that an evaluation of programs versus camps, whether we want that as a publicly listed goal, I'll defer to the rest of the commission, but if we are going to be looking at this, I think there's an evaluation of program. If we said evaluation of summer programs versus camps as options, maybe that's a goal.
You could
Versus-
say something like evaluation and missing a word of summer programs.
Why wouldn't we just say evaluate the structure of our
Yeah.
program?
Yeah, evaluate the structure of summer programs. I think that's a great way to say it.
Perfect.
Or reevaluate the structure, whichever. But yep.
Also talked about field use and how we prioritize permitting.
Yes.
I don't know if that
We
To
did
make
that a
this-
couple of years ago,
good.
Michelle. And there was this rudimentary calculation and process, but yeah, I think there is something with prioritization there. Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think, youth sports programs are going to continue to grow and grow. The big three are most likely going to stay the big three for a while, but we should always make space for new and upcoming programs like field hockey, like an ultimate frisbee. And I can't imagine that passive recreation is going to go away anytime soon. And I think that is, for certain areas in town and parts of our fields or parks or open spaces, we need to keep some spaces open for people to just hang out, as opposed to just overscheduling every field at all times. But I think it's important to put in there as a goal.
Yeah, and I think with the change of the director and just the philosophy, there may be a change of philosophy around the way in which we schedule and prioritize. So maybe.
There might be a few.
Okay, so that would be to review our policy. See if
Our
we need to
fields.
update it.
Field
Yeah.
field scheduling policy.
Mhm.
Great. Okay. Trails plan improvements for Rosemary Camp property. We have done some of that stuff, although we've done it and then it's fallen by the wayside, so.
Well, we
um,
tore down the building.
We did tear down the building. That was big, right? That was really big.
It was really big. And we have the program that we went through with the directed tagging, whatever we call the program we just covered. We're gonna have people paint the walls on the trails instead of
Yes.
indiscriminately
yes.
tagging
Graffiti art.
graffiti art. Thank you.
Right.
So
Uh,
and there was also, wasn't there some effort with the rail trail about securing the back end of that rail trail? It's a little bit better or something. So I think that one, Cindy, is again, it's a evergreen one that sits there, the trails. So the reservoir trail was in there as well.
Right. It could, that the wording there could probably be streamlined. But I think the
We can
trails,
work on that, definitely.
Okay.
But I think the trails should be like,
Yeah.
certainly there along with programs and
Yeah.
fields.
okay, so number 7, continue efforts to improve technology for customer service.
Good
I
job,
feel like-
Matt. We are upgrading our software system.
See? These guys, Stacy, when I first proposed this, they looked at me like I had 4 heads.
We still do.
Well, that's just normal.
Because none of us wanted to do it. We all knew it was necessary, but nobody wanted to do that one. So
I wanted to touch it.
no one wanted to touch it. You're absolutely right. So, because we all liked standing in that long line that I used to stand in when my kids were little to sign up
Yes.
for parking
Yes,
Right.
you did. Well, and not only did we upgrade it, but we made it come in under the procurement mark because we worked with different departments and we only have one IT uploady whoosy gig where they make it appear on your computer. So we're saving a ton of money.
Fabulous. All right, so do we, not that we don't always want to continue our efforts for better customer service, does this still need to be a goal that we keep stating?
I think we can take it off.
Okay. Check that one off. Review staff at pools at Rosemary Recreation Complex. This really had to do with not being able to stay open till Labor Day, didn't it? And we got so much grief, Stacy. You have no idea how much grief we got from people, particularly people that are on other boards in town.
So I've done a lot of, I've had a lot of conversations with Katie and Kate about understanding the staffing demands in a non-COVID world. In a
Yep.
COVID world is actually frustrating because we have more humans to staff longer than we would in a non-COVID world. But I suggested a new goal for the select board that Kate's wording was that we would open the pool as much as possible between Memorial and Labor Day. It's the short version of their goal.
Okay.
So it will help us move towards the Memorial Day is really early, but maybe we can do weekends for a couple weeks. And actually that's easier than the end of the season when you
Right.
have high school athletics and kids going to college. And maybe we bookend our summer with just weekends, or we are creative in our hours, but that will help us attain that goal, the wording of the select board's goal. So that's what we're working on with them.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I think if they have a goal, we should have a similar goal here. I think,
Yep.
Cindy, we had that
I believe,
misalignment.
Yep.
I don't know if it's
with them a couple of
today, tomorrow
times.
night, but that did come out last week. It was emailed to me, so.
Can we
I think-
get them to finish this stinking boat ramp so we don't have to worry? The boat ramp to nowhere.
Boat ramps, the rent, like the boat dock thingy. Do you mean the one at Rosemary?
Yeah,
No, I think he's,
No.
he's
But
talking
that's a
about,
good reminder of that one, though.
yeah, it is.
Launch at Charles River.
yeah, yes,
Sure, I can make that happen.
you can.
I don't know, but sure, I can try.
Well, good luck.
Good luck. It's only been
Good luck. Yeah, it's been about
the
5
Borelli
Pretty
project.
simple to me, where I'm like, why don't you just do this? Bob Lewis was like, yeah, we should do that. I don't know where that goes.
Yeah. Well, I think there's money for that boat launch, but I don't know what the status of that is.
I want to say there was CPC money that was allotted a
It
few years
was,
ago.
and it was never spent.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
I
But
can follow up on that.
there are people who want to put boats in apparently.
Boat launch, get it done.
Right.
Okay.
But I'm more excited about the dock at Rosemary, but we need to have that
Dock at
conversation.
Rosemary is super exciting because we can spend more money than we have allotted to purchase said boat dock,
How?
and we can't.
Wait, what?
So because
What?
the dock, if we purchase a dock, it has to be ADA. It has to,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Have you noticed the slope from
I
the
was gonna
parking lot
how
to the
would you-
dock?
How would you get to the dock?
That is the bigger problem. A, the dock itself is more money than originally earmarked because of the ADA requirements.
Hmm.
B, we have to figure out how to get down there without building an elevator
Oh,
because of the slope. I mean, we can maybe incorporate the ramp that comes up from the splash pad, but I'm still trying to figure that out. So that's going to need a lot of engineering money behind that.
What if we moved it to off the beach? Is there a better slope there? Instead of having it where it is, what if we went in at a different point?
Where are you going to park your boat to go in? or park your car to bring your boat to?
No, it's not that kind of boat.
It's
That
like
Rosemary?
kayaks.
Rosemary is just kayaks.
Right,
Right.
but if you're talking about the beach on the other side of the pool, where are you gonna
Yeah.
park the car with the thing on it? Or is
It's
there a
not for,
different?
it's not for public access. It's for our kayaks.
We're
Right,
thinking,
these are ones that the park and rec will have. It's not bring your own kayak. It's the kayaks or canoes or whatever that we would have at the facility that the people would use. It's not
Right.
bring your own.
For us, for our, yeah, for.
The
we-
beach side is, but the beach, you mean the beach that's like attached to the pool?
Yes,
Those are
what we're dying to
wetlands.
get rid of.
Yeah, I know.
which
Those
we
are
like,
wetlands.
right? We would like to get rid of that beach.
Too many turtle eggs.
Uh,
I don't know that, that is a conservation area. I don't know that we would be able to put in a dock there. But I hear what you're saying.
I don't know if we can put in a dock. I don't think that beach is a conservation area. Didn't we put the sand in? So we
Yes,
can take it out?
cover it.
No.
No, I think it's the shoreline is where the conservation area.
Oh,
is,
the shore, okay.
Cindy.
Well, the shoreline.
It's
yeah,
not
that is-
the, it's not the beach.
Yeah, it's not the
isn't-
beach, it's the shoreline. I'm sorry.
Shoreline is the issue.
Okay.
What about the other side where Chambers Cove is? Is that under the Park and Rec Commission?
That is our property. I don't know that you would want to, I mean, it's an interesting thought. I don't know you would want to put canoes over there that aren't somewhat closer to where we would be supervising them, but that also has a pretty steep grade, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't think that's
It
gonna be
is.
compliant either.
It has steps. You can put a dock in there and you
You
have,
have to purchase an ADA dock. And then once you do
Yeah.
that, you have to make it accessible.
That was the whole thing, Bruce, is we have the same, we have steps at the one on the other side. That's
oh
the
yeah,
issue.
it's just too steep.
Steep.
It-
So I thought the docks we were looking at were ADA accessible. Weren't we looking at docks that had those features?
Yes, but getting to it, Cindy.
Getting
But
down.
Thing it,
But I think the
But we
cost
were
was under guessed.
Under guessed, okay.
Because I don't know what the estimate was, but it came in, this was like in the first few weeks that I worked in Needham, but the numbers were higher than expected.
Okay,
well, we should, I mean, it's something we should reevaluate, I guess, whether it's a
Yes.
goal, but it is part of Rosemary improvements, I guess.
Yep.
So you'd have to put in like a metal outside elevator that it's not like a real elevator, just
oh,
No, I don't think you can actually get an elevator in there. But that you would have to do like a lot of back and forth zigzagging on a ramp.
yeah,
And we already have a triple zigzag to go from the parking lot to the entryway to the pool, and then another triple zigzag to get to the splash pad.
huh.
And
okay.
that is still not at sea level.
Right, right. All right, so I think this has to be continued, whether we want it to be a goal. I don't know. I might just rather have a goal that was to, to review the whole complex for improvements or updates or something like
Yes.
that, right? And this
The
would fall,
building and grounds for the
Yeah.
Rosemary complex.
so
So
that this
I
fall under
agree. A
umbrella.
broader goal.
Right, that would be my suggestion. I don't know if Kristen's still here. She's turned into like just a white
Yeah,
dot.
she left. She didn't.
She
want
left.
to be here anymore. No, she's there.
She
She
had
just turned her
enough goals.
camera off.
She'd had enough goals. I
Yeah.
just- Okay.
she's down Rosemary checking it out right now.
She's measuring the slope. Okay.
It's definitely not 1/20, which is what you need for a slope. So
Yeah, no, it is pretty steep. It is
Yeah.
steep, but there are steps there, but it is too steep if you're not able to walk that well. Okay. All right. Are we done with these?
well, number 9 is review playground conditions, and Michelle suggested that we hired an outside contractor to come in and do the assessment. So that started today. So we're all set on that one too.
So Michelle, congratulations.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Wow. Not
She
surprised.
should take on 6 different responsibilities, see?
She may have. We don't know yet.
I want it to be too good.
Yes, he's clearly the overachiever on this board. Okay, all right. So we'll wait and maybe Christian can get this draft to us and we can take another look at it. Is that acceptable to the commissioners?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. All right.
Despite
Cool.
being, I have one thing. I know I'm that person that like when class is almost over, I'm going to ask a question.
Sure, go for it.
So I'm going to do it anyway, though. As far as the Rail Trail Committee, James Goldstein called me today. He's a lovely man. And we talked about the design for the Fisher Head entrance. Is that what you want to call it, Chris?
Yes.
To the rail trail.
Mhm.
And the original preliminary design included a playground idea. Just
Oh.
very preliminary, like, oh, look, we could plop a playground in here next to the parking at the Fisher Head trailhead. So he called me today because I had mentioned in our conversation a couple weeks ago that we were doing an assessment and that I was hesitant to add a brand new playground before figuring out how we maintain and update and get all of the rest of our playgrounds up to the correct safety standards. And so he called me today to ask, like, but what is there any chance of us adding a playground to our 19 playgrounds in town, or however many playgrounds it is? I believe it's 19. And my original, I want to find out what your thoughts are. My thoughts are very simple. If we can add a playground that serves a purpose that no other playground in town can serve, specifically, is it 100% ADA accessible? Can somebody in a chair actually get onto a swing or on a ramp or up into the actual playground? Maybe we could consider adding another playground. I obviously said to them that I don't speak for the commission, but and then I looked at the overview map of Needham and realized that, because I said, well, if it's like a pocket park in an area that doesn't have a lot of playground options, then maybe that is a reason why we potentially consider another playground. But Walker Pond isn't quite that far from this area,
Right.
if you look at the overview of the map. So I want to get your feedback on adding a playground. Like I said, if it was a specific kind of playground that, again, could fill a need that we don't fill anywhere else in any of our other playgrounds, maybe we consider adding one if the funding is there. But to put up a couple of swings and a slide less than half a mile from Walker Pond, I don't know that that makes sense. Especially since if we put this playground in now, it has to be over 60% poured in place or some other accessible surfacing.
And that's going to drive up the price.
That is going to drive up the price. Yes.
So I don't remember that was part of the plan, but maybe I just missed that.
There was in the upper corner, there's like the parking area, and then the upper corner there was a little playground, which was just like very rudimentary. Like you could fit a 30 by 60 playground here, which a 30 by 60 playground does not have a lot of features. And then a story walk, and then a couple of picnic tables. And I can certainly send that to you, the design of that. But it was because when I first got it, I called Kate and I was like, wait, what? Another playground? And they were like, no, this is just very early design. So I didn't know what your thoughts as a commission were on the potential.
So let me ask you a question. Is this the parking lot when you drive in that you go down the hill and you go, and there's a circle at the bottom? Am I thinking of the right parking lot?
That is the parking lot, but it's across the street.
On the
At
other,
grade.
The
Red- yeah,
new,
Red
Add
Wing.
grade.
Yep.
okay, great, okay. I'd have to think about that. I'd have to say, let me defer to the commissioners. Any thoughts?
before you go forward, there's a hiccup that technically we rent the land from the MBTA. So there may be a process of going through the MBTA to even do this. So just
Right.
want you guys to know that.
All right,
Yeah,
Commissioner, looks like you have something.
Yeah, I've got a couple of thoughts. One is beyond the MBTA, you'd have to also get the neighborhood. Because the rail trail had to go door to door to actually get that thing built. And if and I don't know if they went, and I know we asked this when they came with their proposal on this thing, that they were gonna go back with this parking and go back to the neighbors. I don't know if they have. I don't ever recall seeing a playground there. I think it's all being overdone, to be honest. I think the adding of 3 or 4 parking spaces piece, that's it. That it gets us covered, it's compliant, get in, get out. I think we try and do more than that on that trail. One, it doesn't make sense. Two, I don't see the traffic on that trail, particularly for that age group,
Mhm.
right? What are you gonna do? Take your kids off your bike? Because the only way you're gonna get there is by bike or in your car. Because there's no sidewalks to that park. The only way to get to that is through the rail trail. So you're
Right.
either riding your bike with your kids, the kids are gonna get off their bike, ride a swing for 5 minutes and move on. Or you're gonna get out of your car and then you've got Walker Gordon around the corner. So to me, there's no, I think in general, this project is getting scope creep. It's getting too big than really what it was. Because when they first came to us, I know, and I'm be honest, I was not an advocate. I approved it, but I was an advocate because I thought it was just too much for what we're trying to do there in terms of adding a couple of spaces at grade. Now I understand it, compliance and ADA and access, all for it, but let's not do more than that. It's put in a couple of parking spaces, make it look nice. Let's be done with it. This project is getting too big.
Okay, all right, thank you. Commissioner Geddes, did you have?
Well, it also feels like the last thing we would want is the parking places to be used by people driving to use the playground, where we have other playgrounds in the area that you can more easily park, and we should be reserving those parking spaces for the use of the trail. So I think trying to accommodate multiple groups in a very tight space is just not what we would want to do in that area. Parking is it's impossible to get to the trail. Even if you're not going from that end, there's really no great places to park on High Rock to access the trail. So access to the trail is very challenging regardless. And then to add competition to the parking spots, I think
Good point.
you're just adding more complexity.
Mhm.
Thank you. Anyone else? Chris?
Right. When we had the rail trail meeting, when I saw the plan, I think it's too much, as you know, Commissioner Toolan said. It's a nice to have the parking spaces. I actually like the picnic table options that were there. Because it's a place to almost take a break, that if you are on the trail, sit down, take a break, and then boom, you can get back up on the trail. I'm just afraid that if we're going to put something out there, it's going to get trashed. I mean, it's going to be cost more because it's going to be ADA requirements that we have to do. That I'm afraid if we put pieces of equipment out there, it's not going to get used. If it does get used, it's going to get abused and it's going to get trashed, and we're going to be sinking more money into fixing it over and over and over again. And it's too big of a cost to keep on going back all the time.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else?
I just,
Well,
I agree with all those. I agree with all those opinions. It's like, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere down there, and it's out of sight, out of mind. It's probably will get abused. Doesn't seem to be necessary. So I would agree with all of those opinions.
So I think Stacey, you have a sense of the commission.
Thank
What
you.
we, right? Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. All right. Event requests. Is that where we are next?
The special event has been pulled
Okay.
due to changes in the governor's guidelines.
Yeah, I saw the correspondence going back and forth through the emails. That's too bad, but okay.
I think it's the right decision. So
All right.
the other thing that we should do, we didn't do earlier, is the turkey hunt.
Oh, the hunt or whatever it is.
We
Yeah.
need to approve a fee. We have not gathered what costs there are yet, but it will probably be posted before our next meeting, certainly. We're looking to do, Kristen, if you want to give an update real quick on what we're looking to do, that might give them a better sense of cost.
Sure. So basically the Park and Recreation Department would create clues, and the participants would have to hunt around town for the different turkey signs at either local businesses, local parks, playgrounds, etc. And on each sign that they find, they might find a letter or a number or a symbol. And at the end of the day, it will make a message, and they can submit their entries to the Park and Recreation Department, and a prize is yet to be determined.
Okay.
So it may be a minimal cost, and it may be something that we might want to do for the community for free, or it could be a nominal cost to participate, so that we could maybe get a gift card or something for the winners. We haven't been able to shake that out quite yet, but I wanted to put it to you guys to see where you feel about that.
As a point of
What do
reference,
you-
the turkey hunt was $8 last year per participant.
Okay.
Did they get a real turkey?
No.
No, that was the prize. If you won, you got a real turkey.
You
I
got
mean,
a frozen turkey or a gift card to Roadrunners, but yes.
Did they
Well,
have turkeys? Is that a thing that was an option?
Matt, you have a comment?
I just, at risk of undermining the original intent, what if we changed it from a prize to making it something for the community council, where you do this scavenger hunt, collect things, and make a donation? Given COVID, given families can't gather, there may be a greater need. So what if we made it as a give back event versus just a fun scavenger hunt, or some way balance that into what we're trying to do? Maybe too complicated. I don't know if it's feasible, but it just changed it around a little bit, that do the scavenger hunt, do everything that you're talking about, but somehow it results in a give back way versus something else.
I like that. I think, Kirsten, what we could do is reach out to our liaison for programs on the commission and see if they could help in any way facilitate this. So it'll be good.
The liaison is a great idea person. Happy to help.
Okay. Do you need any affirmative action from us? No.
Not on that one, no.
All right, great. Thank you. We'll leave it in your capable hands along with our capable commissioner. Thank you. All right. Lastly, I think we have meeting minutes to approve from August 24th. It looks like all us were at that meeting. So that is on page 174 of this lovely packet that we have. If anyone needs to take a brief look at those, and I would be happy to entertain a motion whenever the commissioners are ready.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of the Park and Rec Commission for August 24th, 2020.
I'll second.
Great. Any comments or questions or corrections on those minutes? Discussion? None? All right, hearing none, we'll come to the vote. Commissioner Gerstle,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Tulin,
Aye.
Commissioner Geddes.
Aye.
The chair is also an aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Kristen, for those wonderfully written minutes. Okay. Topics for future meetings. Anyone have any topics that they would like to bring up or have added to the agenda for next time? You either bring it up now or send a note to Stacy or me or Kristen.
Can-
and or Chris?
Not just for future discussion, but just two follow-ups. I see that, I know we talked about this last time, of the potholes that were down at DeFazio. I did see that DPW did go down there and fill in all the holes. So it was like the next day that it was done. So I appreciate how that got done extremely quickly, because it does make a big difference. And just as a follow-up, can we get an update on the woman that cut her hand at the pumpkin carving? Just make sure she's okay. I know it's what, 2 weeks removed, just to, wouldn't hurt to make sure she's a-okay and the hand is on the mend.
Yeah, I'll check in with her. I did check in with her that night, but I will check back in with her tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Good idea. Yeah, and please extend our thanks to the DPW staff because greatly appreciated. They were able to smooth out those potholes. They were very, very deep.
Okay.
Anything? No? Okay. Issues not reasonably anticipated by the chair. I don't have anything. The next meetings, at least the next one, November 23rd. Commissioners available. Matt, I think you said you might have a conflict.
Yeah, I'm still not sure what the road trip plan is, so I'll let you know.
Okay. Just if you think it's going to be a problem, please let us know so that we can be sure we have a quorum.
Of course.
Show up for a Zoom, and be the only 3 people here. The other meetings, the 14th is okay. I don't know about the 28th. Perhaps we won't need that meeting. I don't know. I guess I see that
That's
in
why
it.
it's in. Yeah, that's why it's in the town.
Mhm.
So hopefully we won't need that meeting, but have it in reserve. All right. Anything else from anyone? No? If not, thank you. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second,
All those in favor? Oh, I have to poll. Commissioner Gerstle,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams. I think he said aye. He's muted, but I can see it.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Tulin,
aye.
Commissioner Geddes.
Aye.
The chair is also an aye. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you to Stacy and Kristen. All right. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.